Hey ladies, so I'm coming to do a quick update. I wasn't supposed to do an update until my appointment, which is the 31st. But I had a couple of things that I needed to kind of tell, so that way these little videos I'm doing from my phone isn't long. First things first. After I left the hospital, I was still spotting a little bit, and I had like really light contractions, but they weren't noticeable, or I didn't feel them that much. It's just that my stomach would tighten. Well, after they discharged me or whatever, they sent me home on some stool softeners, and that's it. And I'm still taking my thyroid medicine. Well, after I got settled into my mom's house, I about let me see, I had my surgery that Friday. I got discharged that Saturday. We got here Saturday, and then I want to say about Tuesday and Wednesday, probably my worst. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably my worst days. I started contracting, and these were to the point where it would tighten up my stomach, and they weren't necessarily they weren't consistent, but they will be sometimes one to come, and then not even 1 minute later I get another one, and my back started hurting, and it was just very painful. And so Thursday, which was Christmas, I was really contracting that morning, and then that afternoon I was fine. Whenever everybody was visiting for Christmas at my mom's house, I was in a recliner, kind of laid back, but I was faking the funk. I was doing pretty good, but then like that night I started contracting a little bit. Well, I went to the restroom and used the restroom as usual, changed into my pajamas. Well, earlier that day, let me show y'all what I did. Hold on. Earlier that day, look what I did. Burnt myself trying to steam my shirt to look somewhat decent. Mom has a steamer. She has quite a few steamers. Well, one of them she had in the room that I'm in, so I decided, let me steam my shirt. I had my robe on. Well, put my arm in a way, and then bam, yeah, look at that. Burnt myself. Still got a little bubble right there, or whatnot, and that when the bubble popped, or the skin came off when I took a shower, because it was right before I was getting ready to take a shower. So anyway, that was Thursday. So that was Christmas. So anyway, like I said, I was putting some medication on the burn, and all of a sudden I felt something leaking, and I'm like, okay, what is really going on? So, of course, like we all do, let me just take a little check down there and see what's going on. And I decided to get some tissue paper and wipe, and it was blood. So I was like, oh my God, like, what is going on? Because I spotted coming from the hospital after the cerclage, and it went away completely. Like, it went from, red to pink to gook to nothing. And I had like probably 1 day of nothing, and all of a sudden I start bleeding and having these little blood clots, which the blood clots wasn't like when I used to have fibroids and I used to have these nasty looking blood clots. These were kind of like fragments. When I used the restroom, it was like little fragment pieces of blood in the toilet. And I wiped, and it was a lot of blood, and I was like, oh Lord, like, oh, Jesus, please. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm just getting nervous. I called my husband. He already left. Y'all know he's now a truck driver. That happened the day that he left. He had to leave on Christmas to go and be ready to be stationed that following day. So anyway, so I called him to let him know, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like maybe you need to go to the doctor, blah blah blah." And so I told my mom. I went to my mom and I told her. I said, "Look, I'm bleeding now. I'm having strong contractions. I need to know what's going on." I had felt the babies move, that earlier that day, and so I was just like, okay, what is going on? Anywho, long story short, or ain't long story short, but anyway, my mom told me, she said, well, just call your doctor. I had my doctor page, which is way, away from here. It's like maybe 80 miles, or 80 to 90 miles away from here. So I was like, man, like, goodness gracious. I wonder how long she gonna get back to me. Well, they paged her, and after about sitting for about 30, almost, 30 some minutes, she finally called, and she's like, well, since you're not here, and I'm like, I know I'm not there because I had to be able to be on bed rest, so of course I'm not there. And she goes, well, try and go to one of your local hospitals to see, what's, just to kind of rule out this and that and this and that. So anyway, after you got the phone with her, it was kind of pointless of just calling. But anyways, Christmas night, my mom, she was like, okay, let me know what you want to do. She's getting ready to jump in the shower. I had already changed my pajamas and was getting ready to go to bed. It was like, it was 10 something, almost 11. And so, so anyway, mom was like, well, let me go put my boots back on. She was still dressed up. And I went ahead and got up, put on a little, warm-up suit. And we headed down to one of the local hospitals. And then when we got there, they checked us in, and they didn't even know I was pregnant. I was behind the desk and said, okay, so what's the, after they took out my information, I said, okay, so what's the problem? I said, I'm pregnant. They was like, oh, where? And the little security hospital man or whatever went and got me a like a roll chair type thing. And he was like, I didn't even know you were pregnant. I was like, yeah. And I said, it's twins. And he was like, oh, I have a set of twins too. And blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they gave me the chair, got all my information. And so my mom wheeled me over to the waiting area. And just so happened this one lady was there. And she was in labor, but they told her contractions wasn't close enough. So she had to, go back home. So anyway, the little nurse came out to get me, pushed me all the way to labor and delivery, their little like meeting room or check-in room, or the whatever, I don't know what room, but basically there's like about 6 beds in there, and it's where all the pregnant women, I guess, get checked in, just to make sure that they, or before they go to like a labor delivery room, they get checked in to see, if they're far along, if they're dilated, if they're ready to go push, whatever. So I get there, and so the lady's like, yeah, I remember talking to you. She was like, okay. She said, well, let's go ahead and get you hooked to the monitor, see about these contractions. I definitely was having contractions. Again, they weren't consistent, but they were like all the way to the top line, all the way back down, all the way to the top line, all the way back down. So anyway, they told me to go pee in a cup, and it was kind of hard to pee because I was bleeding. So they had blood and pee in the cup. Yeah, I know I ain't gonna hold nothing from y'all. So anyway, they told me to, they gave me a fresh pad so they can monitor the bleeding. And they asked all my history and everything. The lady came and gave me an IV just to kind of, start on that. And so they were like, yeah, you kind of early, so delivery wise, no, we don't want you to do that. And I'm like, duh, like just do some tests. Tell me what's going on with me. So anyway, the IV was in, the ultrasound lady came, and the minute she put that monitor on my stomach and I seen those heartbeats and those babies moving, I think I was able to breathe. I think I finally was like, okay, they're okay, but what's going on with me, or what's going on? So anyway, they couldn't do a vaginal ultrasound because I have a cerclage, and only my high-risk doctor, I guess, can do that. And then so they took a test, and they couldn't check to see if I was dilated or anything like that. So what they did was they did a test to see, there's some kind of test that you can do, and basically the test can tell if you're dehydrated. Well, I was severely dehydrated. So they put me on they made sure the IV was pumping. I think I went through like 3 or 4 bags of fluid. And after about maybe probably about a third bag of fluid, my contractions had went away completely. Like completely. I had no sign of contractions whatsoever. Or whatnot. And so they gave me some kind of medicine to make me kind of fall asleep. They wanted me to go to sleep for about an hour, kind of rest, and just they were going to monitor me. And so anyway, they also detected when I gave them urine, and they got some blood work, but they also determined that I had a bladder infection. And so they said that sometimes, with bladder infections, that may have caused the bleeding. Of course, with the contractions so hard on my uterus, that might have caused some bleeding too. So they were like, we think that it may come from there, but of course, that's just our word, just, kind of guesstimating. We don't know anything because we haven't been in there or whatever. So I was like, okay. So they sent me home with a prescription. Let me tell y'all, we got to the hospital at probably 11 something, about 11 something, I think. And it wasn't a long wait, but let me tell you, we stayed there, and I was hooked up to everything, and we stayed there until 7. I got discharged at 7:15 the next morning. So basically, I spent the night there. My mom was sitting in a chair. I felt so bad for her because it was freezing in there, and she had like a little blanket, and she was trying to sleep sitting up, and they had this lady come in, and she got her checked in, and she was pregnant, and she was like, well, I think I started having contractions 2 hours ago. And they checked her out, and all they said, they was like, look, you getting ready to have a baby, let's go. And they wheeled her out, and like not even an hour later, she was pushing. So we heard her baby be delivered. The baby, she was screaming. The baby came out screaming, but it was just, a fun little moment, just to witness that, or hear it or whatever. And then when you have the baby, they play some little music or whatever every time a baby's born. So anyway, that's been what I've been going through. So I'm on bladder infection medicine for 30 days. I am still on thyroid medicine. I'm still on stool softeners as well. And that's pretty much it. So I don't want to speak too soon, but today I actually I went to the last 2 times I went to the restroom. The second to the last time I wasn't bleeding at all, and then the last time I had like a little bit when I wiped. It's not really pouring out in my pad. I can have a pad on all day, and it'll only leak if I'm standing up a lot. But it didn't do that today, later on today. So, of course, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed, keeping my prayers to Jesus. And I've been praying over my belly like crazy. Let me show y'all this big belly. That's the big belly. Oh, can y'all see it? That's the big belly.